The Halos played Home Run Derby in Chicago on Wednesday and got to 15 wins in May. Hey, can they get to 15 wins in June? We'll tell you how they can do that. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and now on SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click the bell to be notified every time a new episode drops. And today's show is brought to you by the Game Time app. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Thank you for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, we've been fans of this team for years. It's our second season here with you at Locked On Angels. We're talking Angels baseball Monday through Friday, so if you're here every single day, you're an everydayer like Mike and I, or maybe you're joining us for the first time, welcome. You've come to the right place because we're constantly talking about our Halos, and we love doing that every single day of the weekday. Hey, Mike, we have Fan Mail Friday coming up on Friday, tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Wow, it's already Friday. How about that?
Here.
Listen, we're going to recap the Houston series. We know that it starts tonight. However, we want to save those 4 games and talk about them on Monday. So we'll have a full recap on Monday. Of course, you can always check out our post-game videos that we post to YouTube and Twitter and Instagram. You can always get our immediate thoughts after every single game if you check it out there. Again, we'll recap the Houston series on Monday, but we're gearing up for Fan Mail Friday. Get your questions in because we'd love to hear from you. But let's talk about the big, huge, giant win in Chicago, Mike, against the White Sox. It was a 12-5 win, and the Angels were serving up some deep dish home runs. Am I right?
Yeah. Yesterday, John, you said on this show, hey, Lance Lynn's pitching, and the Angels hit that fastball really well. I wonder if this could be a long ball day. Well, you looked into your Johnny Crystal Ball, and you predicted the future, John.
It's almost like I know what I'm talking about sometimes, Mike. That's weird. Huh.
This game felt like, remember the old Super Bases Loaded game? That's what this game felt like. This game felt like one of those games where no matter where you threw the pitch, that one team is going to hit a home run no matter what kind of pitch you threw. And wherever Lance Lynn threw a pitch, the Angels were crushing it.
Yeah.
They got home runs from Trout, which that one was awesome to see in the first
Set
inning.
the tone, man. It set the tone with Mickey
Crushed that
Moniak
ball.
on base, and Trout absolutely crushed it. Absolutely.
Taylor Ward got another home run in this game, so that was exciting. And then Chad Wallach has an add-on home run in the 9th inning, and Chad Wallach's been really great at the plate. I love having him up there. That tandem. Who would have thought, John, that tandem would actually be holding it down at the catcher's position when we didn't even expect them to be even playing in the major leagues, or at least Wallach, at least.
Yeah.
But I want to really focus on Shohei, the Unicorn Ohtani.
Please do.
This guy has 2 massive home runs. One of those home runs went, I think, 5,280 feet. Am I
Something
correct?
like that.
Is that what StatCast said?
Yeah.
But I know they changed the number a couple of times, but what was the final number? Was it 478 or 468 or something like that?
It was 478 on Trout. No, on Ohtani, it was 478. It got down to like 454, I want to say. The projected distance actually changed after Trout and Ohtani hit their home run. So at one point, it was Shohei's longest home run of his career, and then it wasn't. But I don't care because it was one of 2 home runs that were both worth 2 RBIs each, right? He had 4 RBIs total. So Shohei Ohtani really finding it at the plate. That was really awesome to see. And Trout as well, Mike. Man, if those guys wake up like they did on Wednesday, the league is in for some real trouble because so far, I know that we've been like, well, they're like the best 500 team. It's been without Trout and Ohtani for most of this month, and Rendon as well. And so if those guys start hitting again, which they always do, they always come around, this is going to be really good for us, especially going into Houston and facing that team because they're ahead of us in the standings. But man, if we can catch up and do really well with Trout and Ohtani back, we're going to have some good games ahead of us. And then how about our guy that we're always rooting for, Jared Walsh, Mike? 2 doubles in this one, 3 RBIs. He had an inside-out double that was like in on the hands went the other way and ended up scoring 2 runners in scoring position. Super great to see that. And then he did it again later, another double that scored a run. So Jared Walsh, here's what I've noticed. I know that the swing for the first double that was inside out, I know that was kind of like an excuse me swing. It went the other way. But Mike, he's hitting the ball well when he's making contact. So I think that Jared Walsh, just like we talked about with Trout a few weeks ago, when you see Jared Walsh fouling off pitches and making good contact, even when he's flying out, it's good, solid contact. So again, I think Jared Walsh's swing is coming around, and he'll be back to full Walshamania soon. I'm waiting for that first home run to give us Walshamania in 2023.
We'll take it against the Astros. I think that would be the perfect time
for
it to show up. Johnny, how about Jaime Barria? I think the Angels got everything they could get out of Jaime yesterday. Through 90 pitches, 26 more than his previous high in the year, and really in the last 2 years. And he also threw 15 relief pitches on Saturday. And so coming into this game looking good, gave up 1 run in 5 innings, 6 Ks, 3 walks, 4 hits. And I think that I don't want to get too excited here, but I think that maybe this is Jaime Barria's best possible role. I know we've talked about him being that long relief guy. I know we've talked about him being the guy that can come in and kind of mop up. And this, I think, actually is a really good role for him because he was going to be a starter in 2019. And then the Angels signed a guy named Chris Stratton, and then it moved Jaime to the minor leagues. Then they had to bring him back up in 2019 because of injuries. And he was one of the best pitchers in 2019. And then he was kind of up and down, didn't know where he would fit in 2020 and in 2021. And even last year, that role in the bullpen didn't feel like that was really the best place for him, although he did well. Johnny, I think that he's a great 6th starter for us. And I like him there because he just seems to go out and be a gamer. And the fact that he has been able to get at least 5 innings in his last 2 starts on minimal amounts of pitches shows me that he's actually pretty fired up for this role. I think that this has kind of been an inspiring moment for him to really show the Angels what he can do and prove to the fans that he's fit for this moment.
Yeah, I got to give you credit because when we were in the offseason talking about who's going to have that number 6 starter role, we were bouncing between, maybe it's Griffin Canning, maybe Jose Suarez will be the number 6 guy if they get another starter. Maybe Jaime Barria. Maybe Jaime Barria should be the 5th and not Jose Suarez.
Yeah.
So I got to give you credit because I think that you were on the Jaime Barria train all along in this one. And so it's great to see him have success out there, especially his last 2 outings. Mike, I think going back to 2019, maybe 2018, I think I want to say 2018, his best season, best pitcher on the team at that point in 2018. Like he was the one getting us through games and winning games for us. And so it's been a roller coaster of a ride for him. He's 26 years old. And when he came up, he was 21. He was a young guy and he really put it all together for us. So it's great to see him get his flowers on the mound and pitch really well. Hey, the Angels are now sitting at 30-27. Mike, they got to the 15 win mark that we've been pushing for since the season began, taking it 15 wins at a time. If they get 15 wins in every month of the season, they get to 90 wins, which is huge and really important. And that's going to put them right smack dab in wild card contention. Now, I know the AL East is looking really tough right now, and all of those guys are stacked up at the top. But you have to consider that last year, the Mariners got in with 90 wins. The Tampa Bay Rays got in with 86 wins. So there's a possibility that some of these teams taper off. Look, you got to play all 162. And if there's a better indication of that, it's the Braves losing a series to the A's in Oakland, right? Because the Braves are obviously going to be playoff contenders all season long. But sometimes you just run into some trouble and you lose 2 or 3 out of the series to the A's, and you're the Braves, and you're like, what the heck happened? But that's why there's 162 games. So again, I know it's been 2 months. I know a lot has happened in this 2 months, but listen, we've got to play all these games, wait for some of these teams to pick up, some of these teams to drop off, and stay competitive within the AL West. And we have some games that we're going to talk about here in just a second where the Angels are going to need to be competitive. But the Angels are starting a series against Houston tonight, 5:10 Pacific time. They're at the Juice Box, the stupid jigsaw puzzle stadium that they have out there. At least they got rid of that dumb hill, right? Detmers is back on the mound tonight. Reed Detmers trying to get his first win of the year. Now, that may sound like, what's wrong with Detmers? But he's been in games where he's left the game with a lead, and it eventually got blown. And so the Angels are looking to pick him up in this one. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels. And coming up on Locked On Angels, what's up with the boo birds? Do we need to talk and have a conversation about booing our halos? Is it helpful? Is it hurtful? Is it harmful? We'll talk all about that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at the Game Time app. With the Game Time app, buying tickets is fast and easy. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up until the very day of the event. You can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means that you'll always get the best price. And on the Game Time app, you can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps and you're set. You can see images of the seats where you're going to be so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can discover the lowest price guarantee and even get event cancellation protection. Tickets are sent directly to your phone. Never have to dig through email. And if you find tickets in the same section and the same row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. How about that? So grab the tickets without all the stress with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app right now. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem this code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Hey, Locked On Everydayers, please join us for Fan Mail Friday. Of course, you can give us a call on our voicemail line. That's in the episode description, so you won't lose our number. Ricky, don't lose that number. And then, of course, you can get at us at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. We'd love to get your questions in for tomorrow's show. The Angels are back at it tonight, 5:10 Pacific time against the Astros. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels.
All right, so March, April is over. May is now over. We are into June. And so just to recap, the Angels in March and April went 15-4. In May,
14.
they went 14, so 15-4. 15-14.
I wish.
Yeah, no kidding. In May, they went 15-13. They have an overall record of 30-27. So, Johnny, is 15 wins possible for this month, or could they get more than 15 wins? There's 27 games total in June, which means if they get to the 15-win mark and that's it, they have to go 15-12 this month, which sounds doable, right? Like, that sounds definitely doable. So let's talk about the schedule and how things could play out.
Can I just jump in real fast before we actually get into the teams that we're facing and talk about a couple of things? First of all, we've gone most of May with a cold Mike Trout, a slumping Shohei Ohtani, most of the month without Anthony Rendon, who I know everybody's got complaints about, and, you know, he doesn't answer questions and he's getting paid to not play and whatnot, right?
Although he did say that he feels fantastic on Wednesday when asked.
if I was making $36 million to not play baseball, I'd be feeling fantastic too.
Absolutely.
Right? So I know everybody has their criticisms, and rightfully so, right? The contract is not worth the money.
Yeah.
However, when he's batting .347 with runners in scoring position, this is a different team, Michael. And as we've gone through the month of May, and we've had some good baseball being played against the Red Sox and the Twins and split that series with the Orioles, and then there's bad baseball against the Marlins, and then just like dumb baseball being played where the Angels get in their own way and screw it up and have a blowpen game. The fact that we've kept our head above the water at 15-13 this month, I think it speaks to the Angels. As you always say, if there's a chart, they only have up and to the right to go.
Yeah.
And I think about last month with April. You think about the guys who were in the bullpen at the time, like Ryan Tepera and Aaron Loop having his struggles. This is a whole different bullpen at this point, and it's a whole different rotation at this point. We don't have Jose Suarez going out there and stinking it up on the mound and giving away games right now. We have Griffin Canning, actually having decent starts. We have Jaime Barria jumping in and having decent starts as well. So I think that if you think about this team and how different they are from April to May and what could potentially happen in June, I think that we have a better road ahead of us at the end of the day. But let's get into some of those teams in June.
Yeah. So here's the good news, bad news. Good news is that we're playing the Astros. Bad news is that we're playing the Astros in Houston, right?
Yes.
So it's always fun to play them, and we are playing them in that what you call juice box. We're playing 4 of them starting tonight. Again, we're going to recap all of those games on Monday. So if you join us Friday, it's going to be Fan Mail Friday. Here's the thing about Houston, Johnny, is that they always seem to get the hit when they need to get the hit. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of the coin, the Angels always seem to play really strong against Houston. And there was a time where we were really down on our luck and the Astros were doing really, really well. I think things have evened out a bit due to injuries and due to just a slow start and having to remake the roster. Obviously, Houston is the better team right now. But, John, I think that the Angels could easily split these games coming up. And the reason why I think that is because I think Reed Detmers is due, and I think that Patrick Sandoval is due. And so I think if those 2 guys pitch really, really well, we could get at least 2 of these games. Now, I don't think that winning the series is out of the question, but if I'm going to start off the month of June with some hopeful direction, I think we can get 2 of these 4 games. And quite honestly, to your point and what you just talked about, it'd be great for this team to actually start putting it all together and not have the buts that they've had from the last 2 months and really the last few seasons. And I think that to start this month off with a split at worst against Houston would be a really great start for the Angels.
I agree with that. And I think that it is certainly possible when you consider the Angels. And they're not the same team that played Houston early on this season when Houston came to town. And then you have not the White Sox. We just beat them. You have the Cubs coming to town, which I'm going to take my father-in-law, my wife, and I are going to go to the June 6th game and celebrate Father's Day and his birthday because they're both in June. So I'll be at the June 6th game if you're around against the Cubs. I'd love to say hi. Come find me. And I'd love to, say hi. I know that fans often go to the same games that we do. So please don't hesitate. Say, John, shout at me. I don't care. But the Cubs, Mike, while they have a decent team, they have been down on their luck recently. So I think that's a series you need to win. Seattle's interesting to me because their pitching has only gotten better since the last time we saw them. In fact, Bryce Miller, who has just been electric, came up after we saw the Mariners, but their offense is still struggling. They just don't have the power offense that they need to support their starters. So if the Angels can pitch well against Seattle, I think that's going to be the key because the starting pitching for Seattle is very, very difficult. And so it will be interesting to see what happens there. Then we have 4 against Texas in Texas, at Globe Life Field. That's going to be an interesting series because I feel like this Texas team has only gotten better since the last time we saw them. Now I look at Kansas City. They are showing exactly who they are. It's a 3-game set in Kansas City. And I know that we took 2 out of 3 against them. I think that we can sweep that series. And I think that we have to going into Kansas City, right?
Yeah. And then we've got the Dodgers, and we always play the Dodgers tough. And the fact that we get to play them at home is even better. And so I think that could be a series where we're really going to be competitive. Then Colorado for 3. They have a lot of days off in June, which I think actually is
a good thing.
It could be a good thing, although we saw a day off really sink them against the Marlins. So we'll see what happens. Then we play the White Sox. The White Sox come back home, and then we end the month with the first game of a series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Johnny, as I look at this, I'm going to say that obviously the most important games are against Seattle and Texas. I think with Texas, we have to at least split that series. I think with Seattle, getting 2 out of 3 is really important. I would say that we can't waste our time and mess around with Colorado or with Kansas City. I think if we're going to get to 15 wins this month and we're going to be playing some of these harder teams, I think Colorado and Kansas City, we need to take full advantage of those games. And then to have 4 against the White Sox to end the month actually is, I think, beneficial to the Angels to try to creep to that 15-win mark. 15-12, John, do you think they can do it?
It seems more than reasonable. And even if you lose 3 of 4 to, say, the Astros, you can make those games up against teams like Kansas City and Colorado. So if you end up, 16-11 because you split a series with Houston and then you swept the teams that you should sweep, that's even better. But yeah, I think 15-12 is reasonable. And if you lose a series to a good team, at least you can make up those wins elsewhere in the month of June.
John, there's something so much fun about being at a game and seeing Jose Altuve and being able to boo him, right? There's something so much fun about seeing some of these players that have just been Angel killers and being able to boo them. I remember years ago, I went to Angel Stadium to watch a game. Derek Jeter was still playing with the Yankees, and I was behind home plate, kind of in the upper deck, which is a great seat, by the way.
Yeah.
And so Jeter got introduced and I booed and I said, "You suck," right? And the person next to me was a Yankee fan, and he goes, "Well, he doesn't suck. He's actually really good, but if you want to boo him, that's fine." And I remember, like, did you just correct me? Like, what was that about? John, it's fun to boo. And what I've seen lately on social media, especially Angels Twitter, is that there's been a lot of talk about Angel fans actually being vocal about this team and about this organization, and being vocal in the way of booing, right? And one Angel fan suggested that this is a way that we can let the players and the organization and the team know that we are just disappointed, that we're not satisfied. In fact, against the Marlins, there were 2 tweets that I saw from Angel fans that said, "Hey, heard booing for the first time at the Big A. Angel fans are starting to hold this team accountable." And then another post said, "Down 4-0, Yankee fans boo. Angel fans do the wave."
Yeah, no kidding.
And so the thing I want to wrestle with in this segment, Johnny, is this question. Does booing help? Does booing hurt? Does it motivate? Does it do anything?
Yeah, I think you have to be selective about who you boo, Mike, because there were people booing Chase Silseth the other night. And it's like, the guy just got here. He's one of our top prospects.
Yeah.
And it certainly wasn't his fault that the game got away when they were against the Marlins. Like, you have to be selective about who you are booing. Now, I understand, like, maybe if it was Albert Pujols grounding into another double play after 10 years of that, like, you're tired of it and you want to boo and you want to voice your displeasure. Or maybe it's a starter who's not doing well. And you know that maybe that Artie Moreno is the reason why we got this particular starter and not that great starter who was available out there. Like, I understand that booing is important to voice your displeasure. And I think that's absolutely fine. You paid for your ticket. You can do what you want. But at the same time, I think you have to be selective about who you are booing. It's not Chase Silseth's fault that the game got out of hand. It's not Sam Bachman's fault that things got out of hand. These guys just got there. They need our full support. Now, I can understand somebody booing Rendon because they're frustrated with the contract. They're frustrated with his amount of playing time. I understand that. You and I are going to defend him just because we think that when he's in the lineup, he's a valuable part of this lineup.
And he's shown that already this year. Yeah.
And when he's in the lineup, right? When he actually shows up. So I understand if people want to boo him or whatnot, but at the end of the day, I'm a fan of being selective and smart about your booing. Like, it's just, I think if you're booing for booing's sake, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't help anybody. And I think that there are certainly players, especially in the past, who deserve to hear our displeasure. Vernon Wells comes to mind, right? I think that's somebody that desered boos because he came over here.
I had to hold that down. I had a boo coming out when you said his name.
I know, you can't help yourself, right? So yeah, I think that we have to be smart about who we boo if you're going to boo. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, 2 thoughts on this. Last time I booed was at a game when Jose Quijada loaded the bases and then he plunked a guy and then he gave up a hit. And it was right before that when he was really struggling and the Angels were still up. It was against Kansas City, I believe. Phil Nevin was out at the top of the dugout, and we were a few rows behind him with some friends. And me and the friend and then another Locked On Angel listener were like, "Time to pull him, Phil. Let's go. Time to pull him." And then when he basically imploded, Phil went to get him. And then when Phil walked back, we weren't booing Quijada. We were booing Phil.
Yeah.
And we wanted to express our displeasure in his decision making. And
that
so
makes sense.
I think that booing, obviously you paid for your ticket. That's great. I think name calling is stupid, but I think booing
it's definitely
is fun.
stupid.
And I think what happens with booing is when you say be selective, I think that shows if you're a smart baseball fan or not. And in that moment, booing Phil Nevin and his decision to not go get Quijada when he was really struggling,
obviously struggling, yes,
was a terrible decision, right? And so that's why we booed him, and that's why we didn't boo Quijada, although he struggled and we knew he was struggling, but I thought he had an opportunity to be yanked. He could have been yanked, and he didn't. The second thing that comes to mind when I think about booing is what our new friends from Foul Territory said when they were on this show. One of the things that Scott said was, players after the game immediately go to social media to see what people are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually resonated with me because these guys are hearing it. These guys are feeling it. And then they're going to check to see like what people are saying. Now they could say that actually doesn't affect them or not, but I really think it does. And so that's why, to affirm your point, to affirm my point, I think being selective and smart in our booing is really important. So, when a young guy is struggling, he's going to struggle. Like we're going to see Ben Joyce struggle at some point, right? We're going to see Sam Bachman struggle at some point. We're even going to see Mickey Moniak, who has kind of been struggling at some point. But to be able to boo somebody who just isn't performing and hasn't really performed, your Albert Pujols example is perfect. We're grounding into another double play. That's when we can say, hey, we're just frustrated. Boo, right? Because we need you to know, like, you got to pick it up. You got to step it up. You got to do something here. And so I think booing is important for expressing disappointment. I think booing is important for letting the person know who's not performing that we expect more from them. And I think booing is probably the most appropriate way to share, like, man, this is just really frustrating for us. I would prefer that over any sort of name calling or language or anything along those lines.
Sure, of course. Yeah, if you're calling people names, that's stupid, as we saw already. And we've discussed that this season.
Yeah.
One thing that you reminded me of, and I think is important to boo, is when they keep using somebody in a spot, or maybe they're just not the right man for the job. I remember how frustrated I was starting the 2014 season with Ernesto Frieri. That team could have had way more wins. I know they had the best record in baseball that season in 2014, but they would have had so many more wins if Ernesto Frieri could learn how to close a door, let alone close the game, right? And eventually they replaced him with Houston Street, which was a great trade. But you have to boo in those situations to let the management know, to let the team know, like, this isn't the right guy for the job. Stop running him. I know he's a closer.
How can we see this, but you don't see this, right?
Yeah, it's like, stop running the same guys out into these high leverage situations, or like Ryan Tepera or Aaron Loop. I would understand if somebody booed them. Yeah. And I know Tepera's not with the team anymore, but if they kept putting them into those situation after situation after situation, you let Phil Nevin know, dude, this is a stupid decision, and we're booing because you keep making this decision. And so I think booing is effective if you are booing the wrong man for the job. Like, this guy keeps coming in and is just not the right guy in the right situation. I think that's an important point to make as well. Also, for those of us who have booed the Astros, I know a lot of people are like, all right, I'm over it. Let's stop booing Astros player who are part of the cheating teams. Maybe not everybody has had the chance to get out their boos at players, because I got to go to the first Astros-Angels series at Angel Stadium when it was still COVID seating and limited capacity. So I got that off my chest pretty early. Now, there might be some fans out there who haven't yet to get it off their chest. So when the Astros come to town and Altuve gets booed, and gosh, he's really kind of the only one. Oh, Bregman gets booed, right? Yeah. Those guys get booed. I understand people still doing that because perhaps maybe they haven't had the chance to do that yet. So I know it's kind of tangentially related, but in accordance to booing, I think give people a chance to get that off their chest if they haven't done so already.
I'm going to keep booing the Astros because it drives our friend H-Town on Locked On Astros completely insane. And so that's always fun to do. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Hey, remember that the Angels are playing the Astros at 5:10 Pacific time today. You can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with Sirius XM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. You can get at us for Fan Mail Friday. Send your questions in. You can comment. You can get to our story on Instagram at Super Halo Bros and reply there. Mike, they can even give us a call on our voicemail line. We'd love to hear from them there. What kind of questions would you hope for with Fan Mail Friday tomorrow? What do you think?
I think I would love to hear thoughts about who would be another bullpen piece coming up that maybe could replace an Aaron Loop or maybe could come in and fill in. I think I would love to hear about fans' thoughts on, besides Joe Adell, who's another minor league guy that we could have. Is Kyron Paris a good guy to come up? I would love to hear questions about that, thoughts about that. And I know that we talk a lot about trades, but I would even love to hear some really thoughtful trades, not the trades that everybody wants to make, but like, are there players that we haven't thought of that actually might be a great fit that won't hurt our depth as an Angels team? Those are some of the questions that I really enjoy answering and talking through on Locked On Angels.
Yeah, you can ask us any question, but if those are up your alley, please feel free to send those in. Again, our voicemail line is in the description, the episode description below, so you can give us a call there. Until tomorrow's show, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow for Fan Mail Friday.